Welcome to the Born to Be Brave YouTube channel where we talk with entrepreneurs who are born to be brave, and they're going to share their journey with you to help you avoid the pitfalls and encourage you and maybe spark an idea of something that you maybe hadn't thought of before. So, Adam, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Colleen. Appreciate the warm welcome, and yeah, definitely happy to be here, and it's a privilege. So, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I'm so excited. And it's Adam Czajkowski, and I met you at Squat Up, right? Is that the first time I've met you?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, that was the first time. Which I mean, it was such a great event, and that's what I love about our community is we got to meet a bunch of people that you've been friends with online that maybe you haven't met in person yet.
Yeah, isn't it? It's like a big family reunion, but better.
It is, and it's one of those things you try to explain to people who maybe your friends, family, significant other, and if they're not in it, they don't really understand it. They're like, wait, what do you mean you've never met this person?
Yeah. And that we can just be friends with everyone, right? Like,
It is. And I think that's a testament to like when people talk about mentorships or communities and, people come in with defenses up thinking everything's a scam. And it's like, to me, that's when you get in with the right mentorships. It's that community and ecosystem they build, right?
yeah.
Because you're surrounded by people doing the things you want to do that you can feed off of, learn from, help, bring value. So I think it's, those are the true mentorships and communities.
It makes a huge difference. And it sets, not every community is like this, like for real. We're very
No, it
blessed.
is special. And you figure with the amount of people in it, the fact that it's grown as big as it has while keeping that community effect and that kind of big family and that camaraderie. I mean, that's very impressive, especially to what, Pace has done. That's a big testament to him, this team, the people he surrounded himself with.
Yeah, what's interesting is Pace was in town here yesterday, but about
Hmm.
45 minutes away from me. And I wanted to go really bad, but I have a concussion. I fell and hit my head, and it's a long story, but I
Oh
knew
boy.
I knew I could not go because it's all the way up in LA. It could take you two
Mhm.
hours, with traffic. And then, the
Oh
event and
yeah.
everything. Anyway, what's interesting is so I just posted in all our groups and just asked if somebody could, because Pace loves snickerdoodles. And so I wanted to send snickerdoodles up. And then he was bringing, yeah. And then he was bringing Maddie, the girl that lives in the shelter that with him, that he's going to help get her first deal. And I know firsthand how hard it is. We had a son that lived in a shelter, and getting your life back on track is can be difficult. So I just wanted to
Sure.
send her a gratitude journal and a picture of Jesus and a sheep in a field, just saying he restores all. And I had it matted and framed really quick yesterday because my neighbor does that. He's retired. And it's so funny is I was like, but how am I going to get it up there, right? And I just wanted her to have my phone number, so in case she ever feels like she needs like an accountability partner. And what's so cute is one, JJ called me, which is he does networking here. He called to
Oh
make sure
yeah.
I'm okay. One, and then two, and he told me post in my group too in case someone's going to be driving by your house that can go and take it. And then a girl texted me and said, "Hey, I can meet you off the freeway right by your house. I'll be there at 1:30." And she came and she took it, and then she sent me pictures of her and Pace with the stuff I sent. And I'm like, who does this, right? Like, this is real life community, right? Like, I don't
It's
know.
it's it's impressive. I mean, just little gestures like that, not expecting anything in return, just really people who really truly want to do something for somebody else and just help, because it's a great feeling. So yeah, it's so amazing, like you said, to be surrounded with people you've never met that just randomly will do little gestures like that just to help you who you're trying to help somebody else. It's a domino effect. It's contagious.
Yeah, yeah, and we're very blessed. How did you find, like, tell us your backstory. Like, did you grow up and you're in an entrepreneur investing family, or like, how did you end
No.
up here?
No. So I grew up in, central Massachusetts, born to, blue collar workers. My mom was a nurse for 40 years. My dad was a plumber. And, God bless them. They did what that generation was told to do, get a job, work for 40 years, save, be cautious, go to, and all that, and then retire. So they didn't know what they didn't know. So I didn't really get too much of a financial acumen except, save, don't take on debt, those things. But in regards to like building wealth or being your own boss, all these things. Part of that kind of came natural, I guess, as a child. I remember like always wanting to do things like whether it's a yard sale, lemonade stand, all those things you'd want to do as a kid to like start a business. Um, so, I kind of had that in me, I feel like from, being young, but, again, you were taught, go to school, get a job. So I went to college, just like, we thought we were supposed to do. Um, got into, I didn't really know what I wanted to do at the time. So for me, one love that I was just passionate about was baseball. And I knew I wanted to do something with it. At the time, money wasn't a big issue, big thing for me. I didn't really worry about it too much, being young in my 20s. But I knew I loved baseball. So really kind of worked through the ranks, interned, got my foot in the door, did what I needed to do, ended up working professional baseball for 8 years.
Oh,
And
wow.
I think that really stemmed a lot of where, of what I am today, because, it taught me to do the things that no one else wants to do to get where you want. Um, Also putting in the grind and really going through the messy to get to the great, right? As we so commonly see as being entrepreneurs. So a lot of that really translated into that, where I am now with being an entrepreneur. So I did that for 8 years, and I loved every minute of it. I loved what I did. You never felt like you worked, got to do some great things, some great experiences. But you get to a point where as you mature, you start to see what life's going to be like 10, 20, 30 years from now. And I started to hear all these stories of guys in the business who were lifers that, were missing kids' graduations, family events, guys that were not really sure how they were going to retire because, you're not in it for the money. It's not, a very lucrative job. So then I kind of had a kind of different perspective and mindset shift into like, okay, I need more for myself. So ended up leaving, just backed out one day randomly, didn't really plan ahead, didn't know my next goals, moved back home. Lived with my parents for a little bit while I figured this out and got into sales because, hey, sports, background, it always kind of correlated with that. So I did that for about, 8, 9 years. And then, yeah, money was good. Feel good. Like, hey, life's good. We have a little bit more balance. Yeah, I work some crazy hours, but yeah, things are good. They didn't really think of anything else. And then March 2020 hits.
Ooh.
And I go from being commission only sales based from up here down to there all of a sudden, because the world shuts down. No one knows what's going on. Sales just drop. So now I'm like, wow, my job is not as secure as I thought it was.
Mhm.
So at that point, I started picking up books, reading because, hey, we had nothing else to do at the time. So I'm learning as much as I can about real estate, got hooked on Bigger Pockets, saw these other books. And then lo and behold, like early 21, I hear Brandon Turner's podcast on Bigger Pockets with a guest called Pace Morby. And this guy's talking about getting housing with no credit, no banks, taking over someone's mortgage. I'm like, there's no way this can happen. How is this not like a mainstream thing? So did more investigation, did digging, started following Pace, all these things we do to educate ourselves. And, at first you're just not sure what to make of it. And then you do your research and like a year later, I mean, it was a good year. And then I decided to pull the trigger because I'm like, we had bought, I guess, rewind a little bit. As things loosened up, we ended up buying our first rental property conventionally.
Uh-huh.
And things were going good. I was getting my feet wet, real estate. This was 4 years ago. And then I'm like, well, how do people scale? They keep saving 10, 20% down, get a new loan, doing all this. And it's like, it seems like it's going to take like 20, 30 years to get there.
It is.
So that's kind of what led into Pace, right? And that's kind of what led into the community next to, okay, wow, I need to get myself around people doing these things. So that's where it started. And, it's just so much going on, people doing so many different things, so many ways to make money as you learn. And then you just realize, wow, I didn't know anything when I first did my first property. So it's been great because since being in Subto and then where it's taken me over the last 2 years has continued to push me to elevate me to keep me uncomfortable with being comfortable with being uncomfortable and pushing to new levels and just seeing where things have taken me. And I could have never imagined where I am today versus like 3 years ago 2 years ago, even when I joined, of how far I've come, who I've met, where it's taken me. It's accelerated things so much faster than had I done that on my own. So
Big
now
difference, right?
it is. And I think that's another thing to mention. When you're in the right groups, the right mentorships, you're accelerating your learning curve, right? You're going from what could take you 10 years to do on your own to maybe 2 or 3 years, depending on what time you have available and what your desire is. So it's really up to you in taking action.
Yeah, it really condenses the time down if you choose, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's all about taking action. But to me, taking action also has to come with consistency, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just because you join doesn't mean it's going to happen. Now you have to get out, network. You have to go out, start knocking on doors, looking at properties, talking to sellers, getting systems in place. And consistency doesn't mean you have to do it every day, 10 hours a day. It's just, you may have a day where you have 5 hours dedicated. Next day's an hour. Next couple of days, you have to take off. But you have to be consistent. You have to keep it going. You can't take a long break in between. Otherwise, those are the people that just start to say, oh man, I got lost in the mix. And a couple of years later, they still haven't done anything.
Yeah, and I think that it's harder to get back into it. You can, but I think they start really beating themselves up mentally and they feel like they've failed and that it doesn't work for them and it just works for these other people. And they make a lot of excuses on why it doesn't work.
Absolutely. They don't take the accountability. And I think when you do that, you start making excuses or pointing fingers. It's easier to internally tell yourself that you didn't fail in a way. It was all these other outside sources to make yourself feel better internally. But I mean, it's a great point. Like you said, I really think no matter what you're doing in this business as an entrepreneur, it doesn't start with going out buying a property, right? It starts with being in the right mindset. If you're not in the right mindset to start, to me, your success is going to be short-lived. It's going to take you that much longer to get where you want to go if you're not in the right mindset.
Yeah, I have a saying, you can never outperform your self-identity. And so if your mindset is small or uncertain or unshaky, this business will beat you up and then you'll leave.
Oh, 100%. You have to, I think really what separates a lot of people is, myself, it's not that I have so many more connections to capital or I'm that much of a greater salesman than somebody else, or, I can find properties better than anyone else. For me, it's the ability to persist. And when you hit those roadblocks, to keep going, because I feel like that's where a lot of people end up stopping their journey, is when they hit that first road bump. Okay, this is too hard, I give up. Or maybe you push through one or two and then stop because it just, wow, I thought things would get easier. You have to be in that mindset shift again of like, no, they don't get easier. You just have to get better at solving problems. And, your bank account's going to be reflective upon the size of the problem you're going to fix.
Yeah. What's your tip for people whose mindset maybe is not so solid? How can what's some tip you can share of some habit that you've done to keep a mindset that's resilient?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, two things are important. Number one is, okay, if you're not in the right mindset, get around the people who are. Because if you see people, whatever you're doing, wholesaling, short-term rentals, arbitrage, commercial, fix and flip, whatever it is, clearly you're going to find someone who's successful in that area. So get around them because they're doing something right. Find out what it is, talk to them about their mindset, get around the right people. The other thing is, like, these people that you hear of that talk about mindset, the Jim Quicks of the world, the Dean Graziosis, the Cody Sanchez's, Tony Robbins, all these people, David Goggins, you can take something from them. I forgot another one, Gary Vee, who I love. All these people, really have a lot of things in common, but one thing I think is very common is mindset and their attitude and opinion towards things. So it all comes down to, like they always say, you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself most with. So if I'm surrounding myself with 4 people, other people who are negative, who are saying, no, this can't be done, of course my mindset's going to be, in a poor place. But if I'm on Instagram and I'm following these types of influencers I just talked about, getting around the right people, naturally your mindset should start to shift because it's contagious.
I agree.
So I think that's some great tips to, like, if you can recognize you're not in the right mindset, those are some great ways just to easily get yourself going and get back on track.
Yeah. And I think that if you can't afford to go to seminars and things like that, you can read books, watch YouTube videos, or follow them on Instagram, Facebook, and, affirmations. Put things around your house that are positive sayings. I have stuff
Mm-hmm.
written on in my bathroom mirror. I have stuff written on there, and I change it up every so often. And I put stuff on my fridge, notes to myself.
Yeah. No, I think you have to really manifest it, whether it's a vision board, writing down daily goals, whatever you think is going to help you, because when you repeat that, it gets sunk into your mind, and then it just starts to become a habit. So you have to make those things habits for sure. And you're right. I think anyone that says an excuse of, oh, I can't afford to go to the seminar, I can't do this, I call them out, because we're in such an amazing era where I came from an era where before internet, you had to go to the library, or you knew someone. There was no way to, like, message someone and connect with someone
Yes.
halfway across the country and be like, oh my God, I can connect with you as a fix and flipper and learn from you. It's like, no, you didn't have that 15, 20 years ago. So there is absolutely no excuse to say it can't be done. Like you said, plenty of people doing it, for enough free information out there, enough people to follow on Instagram. You're making excuses if you say, it can't be done, or I can't afford to do this.
Yeah, it's interesting is this morning, right before we hopped on, the reason I just barely hopped in here right before we started was because I saw a post from somebody that's big in real estate that posted something that cost them a lot of money, and they posted like something that they learned that they want to share with other people because they want to help other people not have that same mistake. I don't really know her, but she's big, and I slipped
Was
into her.
that the Rhea Campbell post?
Yes,
I saw
yes,
that too, about partnerships. Yeah.
yes, and
And
so
I'd never met her either, but same thing. I mean, that's the power of the community. It's like, who she is, how powerful she is. I know people that know her, but yeah, and it's great. Like, you see someone who's crushing it, being vulnerable too, which is great. We love to see that too.
Yeah, so I messaged her on the DMs because I saw it right before I was popping in here. And I'm like, I won't remember later. I'll get busy, right? And I said,
Right.
I just sent her my Calendly link. I said, I just saw your post on Facebook and I loved it. I host a YouTube channel called Born to Be Brave. I interviewed Pace Morby, just so she knows I'm legit, right? And like literally, I said, I'd be honored to have you. And she said, I would be honored. I hear your show's awesome. And then she said, can you just email my assistant? And here's his email. And I said, yeah, I'll do it right now. So I quickly emailed him because I'm scared I would forget, right? And
Right.
I emailed him and then I slid in here and she said, I'll take care of it. I can't wait to be on your show. So that is the power of it. I don't know her and she's killing it. She's awesome. And I loved her vulnerability. She shared a loss, right? Something she wished
Hmm.
she would have done differently in a partnership up front. And she will be a huge benefit to people on my interview, right?
Oh, 100%. Because you see someone that, again, I've only known her from reading her posts or hearing about from others, but clearly she's been a big player in the game. She has a ton of experience and she crushes it, and, very well known. But I think, when you're not in those positions yet, or you want to be where they are, when you see that vulnerability, you realize, wow, they're going through the same problems I am too, maybe on a different scale, but they're not immune to having problems. They're doing the things I want to do, but guess what? Wow. Okay. So that, so it's kind of like you're in that same company. You realize, and I think it goes back to, as an entrepreneur, you sometimes feel like you're on an island, right? Like we're alone. But
Yes.
I think that goes back to the power of the communities, and seeing those posts that Rhea makes, that, okay, I'm not on the island anymore. I may be on the island, but I have 1,000 other people with me that I can talk to and help me through things.
Yes, and shorten your learning curve, right? Because like I literally took a
Mhm.
screenshot of it because I wrote I have a little a folder in my phone on my photos that says lessons learned in real estate by others. And I took a screenshot of it and put it in there. And I review it every so often because we think we'll remember, but we don't,
We
right?
don't. Yeah, it's just so much information. That can be a challenge for sure. And another group I'm in is a commercial group, and it's run by a gentleman named Rod Khalif, who's had tremendous success in real estate and now commercial. And he's similar to what Subto is. Surrounded himself with some really tremendous people who are operating in the commercial space, which is where I wanted to go. But he talks about all these lessons, and he uses the word seminar. When you learn these bad lessons, like you attended a seminar. So it's he's always talking about, hey, I lost X amount of money. I had this partnership went and go bad. It's the seminar I learned from it. So I've grown to like that term.
I like the framing. I always call them opportunities to grow, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Seminar.
It's however you want to frame it. It's like you said, opportunities to grow. Seminar makes us better. It's all those things again. And it's the mindset. It's how you view it. It's how you deal with it and how you conquer it.
Yeah. What's the guy's name? I'm going to write it down. I'll follow him.
Rod Khalif, Khleif.
Okay. Yeah. I'll go follow him. Thanks.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Now tell me, I just love that we're talking. This is so fun because I don't even know who told me you were so awesome. It's got up and I'm like, they all know I'm all, because Pace told me go all in on YouTube this year. Just consistently go all in, Colleen. Just one year will make a huge difference, right? And I'm already I'm doing it, right? This year. And so what do you focus on? What did you start focusing on? And I know you're focused on assisted living, which is something I'm considering. I'm thinking about, I'm almost 100% sure I'm going to do assisted living myself because I've been just focused on single family, but I'm going to shift, and I'm pretty sure to assisted living, but I'm not 100% set on it. But anyway, tell me about what did you start with? And then what are you working on now? And I know you raised capital too.
Yep. Yeah. So where it shifted was like originally the goal is to obviously you have your why for your family to create wealth. So we don't have to worry about working for somebody else. All those things start to shape your why and why you were doing this in the first place. So then for me, I started just like pretty much everyone in single family and thought, okay, what do I need to get to retire, to grow my wealth and all this? And you soon quickly realize, wow, you have to scale up to a lot to get to the cash flow you need. And then as you own properties, you realize, okay, that cash flow can be knocked out very quickly. And part of me always had wanted to go into commercial. I think with my business background, I always I like that realm a little bit more. So it was just built more for me. So that's when, Subto kind of directed me to people who were in Rod's group. So I had gotten connected with someone in Subto. She had asked me what I wanted to do. She had joined his group and she had done already a couple syndications, like 120 plus apartment building and student living. And I was like, wow, this is impressive. And I remember one of the first things she asked me was, when she found out I wanted to do commercials, she stopped me and goes, why not now? What's stopping you?
Oh, and that's such Colleen, a great question.
Colleen, I had no answer for her. I was totally caught off guard. I'm like, I think I went back to like making not the excuses, but like, oh, I don't have the connections, I have the money. That seems like millions of dollars. I don't know if I'm ready. And she's like, she was one of the first people that got me thinking bigger, faster. And again, this is what surrounds yourself with the right people, going back to the mindset. Had I not been around people like that, I probably would still be in that mindset. So I started doing more commercials, started looking. I had found a partner actually through Subto, who's still a good friend and partner today. He's in the community, Tim Yu. Again, this is the power of the community. I met Tim randomly at BPCon in Orlando in October of 23. And it was kind of like a weird moment where we went to like a seminar and, you have the rows of chairs. He was on one end, I was on the other, no one in between. We kind of turn our heads to look to, just checking things out before it gets going. And we both notice we're wearing a Subto hat.
Oh, that is so cute.
Out of thousands of people at a non-Subto event, we randomly were sitting almost next to each other. So
that's a God thing.
It's crazy how you're put in the right places, the right times. And so Tim and I connected. We, were friendly throughout the week, hung out to dinner a couple of times. And, it's just one of those things that we stayed in touch naturally. It's just weird how it happened. And we kept talking. Things started to align of like what we wanted to do long term. And then it just kind of slowly developed into a partnership. And we bought a few properties, like a portfolio subject to seller finance. Yeah, we had that proof of concept. He still is doing wholesaling to this day, but we wanted to kind of change things up a little bit with the buy and hold. So, that's when we started looking at commercial, at multifamily originally. And then, things weren't really progressing the way we wanted. So that's where I had taken my friend Iffy's advice, the one who told me to start thinking bigger, faster, joined Garage Group, got myself around commercial people. And when I did, I took a step back. I said, let's reevaluate what we're doing here. Let me talk to a bunch of people, see what they're doing, get some different inputs. Let's start with a clean slate. And I kind of went all in. Like you said, I just started connecting with anyone who would talk to me. I mean, I must have connected with about 50, 60 people in the first month or two and learned about all these different asset classes. And just weirdly enough, assisted living came up. And when it first happened, I'm like, I knew of it, didn't really know very little about it. And then more people started connecting you with it. It was like that reticulated active system where once you hear something, all of a
Yes.
sudden it's all over, right? It's all over.
Yeah, you never heard of it before, and then now you see it everywhere.
Yeah, 100%. So I started doing some more digging, and I'm like, it was also interesting and cool feeling too, Colleen, where in my first time in at that point, 3 years of doing real estate, besides myself, my family, my future wealth, all those things of why we do it, I started to get a sense of fulfillment there for real estate. Of it started to bring up some emotions where I remember assisted living when we put my grandmother in one when I was a young kid. And being a young kid, we're young, naive, we'll say whatever's on our mind, but yeah, I feel like kids are always so honest. And I remember thinking, wow, it sucks to get old. I don't want it. I don't want this to happen to me. So as this assisted living
Kids are
came up,
great.
oh, kids are great. Yeah, I had that as a kid mind. I'm like, wow, it just spoke my mind. And um, as an adult, when I heard that, I'm like, it brought up those emotions again, weirdly, it would just unexpectedly. So I was like, let me look into this more. And, I started doing digging, educating, and I'm like, wow, there's definitely a lot of opportunity here. But two, I'm like, wow, there's definitely some impact here to really help a demographic, right? To help an aging population, because it must be so scary to think as we get older. I look at it as a blessing and a curse, right? It's a blessing because we get to live that long, but it's also a curse because we start to lose independence, our hearing, our sight, our cognitive ability, our physical ability, because no matter who you are, no matter how much money you have, we're all ending up in the same place. Not to sound morbid, but
We're all going to die.
so we're all, yeah, exactly. No one can escape it. So I said, wow, well, these people, it must be such a big challenge to go from you have your life, you have your career, you do all these things independently, you've had all this freedom to now someone has to take care of you. You need your basic needs met. So I think that kind of, definitely motivated me and had some passion there to like, wow, this is the first time where I felt a need or a mission that bigger than myself. Right. And I think it started with being, again, around contagious people. Like I'm sure Chino Manta in the group. And
Yeah, of
when
course.
you see Chino and what he's doing, and I've gotten to know him over the past couple of years and helped with his mission, it's things like that you just naturally you absorb, and it's contagious because that reminded me of remembering to do something bigger than myself too. So I think it was kind of checking all the boxes like, hey, this is real estate. It's a business. It's helping people. It's a bigger cause. All these things. It's like, great. This is very fulfilling for me. So I got into more of the education, doing diligence. And yes, is it a lot more challenging? Absolutely. There's a lot more work. There's definitely more business involved. There's, employees you have to worry about now. But that was also calling the second part of, okay, I've worked W-2 jobs. I've worked with bad bosses. I've worked for bad organizations. So being able to be a part of an assisted living facility where, one, I can help make the best care possible for the aging demographic, but also these caregivers who, in my opinion, are in such a thankless profession that, one, I think it takes a special person to want to care for somebody else, right? No one, very few people are built to do that. And you're not doing it for money, right? They're unappreciated, thankless job. So the next thing I thought was, wow, of all these years of having bad organizations, bad bosses, I can also hopefully make an impact here for the employees.
Yeah, that's
You know,
beautiful.
be a strong support system for them. Make the system better,
Mhm.
and also support a demand that there's just not going to be enough supply of. So it just excited me in all these assets I'm talking, facets I'm talking about. So that's really how I ended up in the assisted living space over the last few months. And, it got me into some places and rooms I never thought I'd be, helping raise capital for a 156 bed facility that's under contract in California, talking about doing, residential stuff with new partners, with my partner, Tim. And we just kind of collaborated with somebody else. Her name's Celeste, to kind of bring into the mix. So it's just so crazy how all that stuff will soon start to kind of bring itself together. And you look back 4 years ago when you first started, and you have it in your mindset of like, okay, I'm going to get all these rental properties. I'm going to retire. I'm going to do this. It never goes to plan, right? And it's just amazing how those plans formulate, and when you take action, when you're consistent, of how that works out.
Yeah, I love that because I just realized like, okay, I do not want to just keep acquiring, property, right? Like, and it's interesting. I went and when I have a great aunt that's 100 and I take care of her.
Oh, wow.
And I looked at 40 assisted living places before we put my uncle, her husband, in a place. He had memory care issues, and it's a long story, but social services was called adult social services because she wouldn't get care for him. And so she called emergency service 911 every day for like a week, multiple times.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
they forced her to put him in a place because she wouldn't comply with their wishes. She was abusing, in their opinion, the system, right? Which of course
Yeah.
you can't be calling 911 all the time.
No,
And
of course. Yeah.
and so I went and looked at all the places near us. I mean, I just drew a big circle and I went and looked at them. And this is why I think I'm going to go towards assisted living, only because I found a place that I love. I narrowed it down to three, and then I took her to three of them, right? And some of them I'd walk in and I'd walk out. I could cancel my appointment.
Sure. You
Yeah, I'm
knew
like,
right away. You could
yeah,
tell.
I'm out. Yeah, there's no way my
Yep.
uncle's coming here. And so I narrowed it down to three places. But what's interesting is I have seven of my clients. I'm in residential real estate as a profession. I have seven of my clients that live in this facility because I love it that much, but I've never made any money off of it. And I've been pondering what is I'm going to do next, right? And researching
Yeah.
it and open to what's the next thing for me. And I woke up one day now and I can't find this guy now, but it was a God thing, I think. I found this guy on social media who he's a realtor, but he helps place people in places, and then he buys their houses or will list their house. And then anyway, and he does it all across the country. And I'm like, oh, I could easily do that. I know so much about it because I've had my uncle was there, then I've had my aunt there, right? And then I have right now seven of my clients or friends, kid, parents, all live there. And I just love this. I could live at this place. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's that
Yeah.
nice and that
Oh,
good.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's the quality of care you have to provide. I think for
Mhm.
me, that's one of the biggest compliments, when you're running or owning a facility is being able to take care of someone's loved one, right? Because
Mhm.
that is, to me, is such a huge responsibility, a privilege in the same fact to do that. Because at the end of the day, like you start thinking about your family, my parents even, their plans ahead of time now that we're getting to that point, and you never want to think about it, but it's this, the harsh reality. And I think you have to do them the best thing in caring for them and loving them, of helping them with those plans. But I think it also goes back to that, as family members, we never think anyone can take care of our family better than us. But I learned from somebody in the business doing it, they said, yes, but this is why there's specialized care, because they had an instance where a family member, I believe it was a daughter, her mother was starting to kind of, you could tell cognitively lose it, memory
Mhm.
loss. She definitely needed this specialized training and care. but the daughter was stubborn, and understandably so, that again, no one can take care of my mom better than me. So the mom moved in. And there was a story of she was in the kitchen and the mom went into the pantry and she started drinking a bottle of canola oil.
Mm.
Just started downing a whole bottle of canola oil. And
Mm.
that was the moment for the daughter to realize, wow, I don't have the skill set to take care of her needs.
Yeah.
So that was because
Wow.
the reality was, wow, I was right there with her. I didn't see that. Number one.
Hmm.
And number two, what if that had been like bleach or something?
Yeah.
So it could have been a lot worse.
And I love that analogy and that story because what people don't realize is it happens quick, right? And you can't watch everything. And I like that if you're in a memory care place, there's so much more protection there because they don't have access to things like that could hurt them. And
Correct. Yep.
yeah,
And you have staff around them who's trained, who's certified to deal with them, because again, that I can't imagine how scary that must be to go from that to not knowing who you are, knowing who your loved ones are. So, having the right facility, having the right training, for when those episodes do happen, that's the best care you can provide because, if you're not trained to do that, yeah, you're going to be in a situation just like she was.
yeah. And then the guilt that you would live with, like if it was bleach, right?
Oh, thankfully it wasn't anything worse, but yeah, like you
Hmm.
said, God forbid if it was something worse, and not many people, yeah, they couldn't live with themselves. So it had been worse.
Yeah. Are you doing any capital raises right now?
Yes, right now. So we have two. I have two going on. One is set to close next week. So that's with a good connection I've gotten close with. He's up in the Boston area. He focuses on industrial flex. So he has about 12 assets under management right now with his team that he'd asked me if I'd raise some capital for. So we have that closing next week. So I've been doing that one. But yeah, the main focus is and will continue to be assisted living. The 156 unit is two facilities out in California that we're raising for right now that's under contract. So pretty close to your area. One's in Riverside, one's in Escondido. So,
Oh yeah.
we're currently raising right now for those.
And then do you have to be an accredited investor to invest with you, or do you not have to be?
Yes, for these
Tell me.
situations, yes. So it all depends on the structure of the deal, right? So there
Hmm.
with the SEC and you're doing syndications, yes, yeah, you have very strict guidelines to follow and what you can't do. When you're doing a 506C, that has a little bit more leniency. That you can publicly talk about. You could put marketing material about. I don't have to have an existing connection to you, to the
Hmm.
investor. Like
Yeah.
it could be a recommendation from a friend of a friend. But yes, usually it's strict accredited investor, which the accredited investor definition is someone that has a net worth of $1 million, not including their primary residence, and they have to be making anywhere from $200,000 to $300,000 over the last couple of years. It depends on their status. Like if they're single, it's 200, 300 if they're married.
Yeah, I love that. That is good to clarify that for people because not everyone knows what that is.
No,
So,
whereas the other side is a 506B, and that one you can't advertise, right? I can't
hmm.
be sending marketing material out, pitch decks, but they'll usually allow a certain number of what's called sophisticated investors, where you can bring in 50,000 or even a certain amount of friends and family that are very, very new to the investing world, so they could invest, $50,000 if they wanted. So it really depends on the structure of the deal and how you're going to raise for it.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. That's so good, right?
Yeah, it's fun. I'm learning something new every day. I mean, I think, as much as you can learn from hearing others, reading books, watching YouTube, the best experience, and I think any good entrepreneur will tell you, is just doing it. Getting up, doing the thing, taking action and getting the experience, because that's where you're really going to learn how to get good at it.
Yeah, there's no substitute for it. You can't simulate it.
You can't. You can, when it happens, like when you're in the thick of things will start clicking of like, oh, that's what that meant in the book I read, or that's what
Mhm.
so and so was talking about. That makes sense. But yeah, there's just no substitute for a real hands-on experience of just doing it.
Yeah. What advice do you have for someone that's watching our show right now and our interview that's like, oh, I want to do that. What do you wish you would have known sooner? What should they do?
In regards for capital raising or
Do
just
two.
in,
Do one for capital raising and then one for investing in real estate.
yeah, I think capital raising, I
Mhm.
think it's the mindset and like, don't have limited beliefs of like, oh, I don't know people who have money. There's tons of money out there. You just have to get out and start talking about what you're doing, number one. And then number two, with capital raising, I think you have to have the mindset of most people are afraid to capital raise because they feel like they're asking for money. Like almost they picture probably someone like panhandling, hey, can I get $1?
Yeah, on the
Right?
side of the road.
Yeah, on the side of the road. And that's not what it is. What it is you're providing, if you vet the deal, vet the team right, or as a capital raiser, because don't just capital raise for anybody. You have to vet the team, vet the deal. And the team's the most important, right? Because you could have a great deal, but if that team's terrible, it's going to be a bad deal. So I think it's important that you do that. But when you capital raise, when you have the right deal and team, you're bringing an opportunity to someone. You're bringing an opportunity to understand to an investor that has a pain point. There's a reason why they want to invest. And you have to dig deep to find those answers. It's not just, oh, I want to make double my $100,000 investment. It's, oh, geez, I'm scared with what the stock market's doing. Most of my money's there. I need another way to invest.
Hmm.
That's the pain that's going to want them to find the solution. And us as capital raisers, we're helping guide them to that solution, and educating them. We're not forcing it down their throat, but we're trying to find out what their pain point is and then guiding them along that process to find that new avenue of investing to park their money and, get double-digit returns.
Yeah, that's good. And when you say the team, so you vet the deal and then you vet the team. Who's the team?
So on the commercial side, and this is, I think, another reason why I love the commercial side too, is because you have teams and partnerships. So when you're taking down a commercial asset, you have two parts to the deal, two parts to the team, I should say. There's the GP, which is the general partners.
Hmm.
Those are the partners that are active. They are finding the deal, they're negotiating it, getting under contract, raising capital to close the deal, managing the asset, creating the business plan. Most of these are usually 3 to 5 year plans, right, to get the investors out and get them in and out. So that's really the GP team. They're managing, they're getting the deal. They're really the boots on the ground doing the daily activities with the deal. Then you have the investors, the accredited investor, sophisticated investor, whoever, makes up what's called the LP team, the limited partners. These are truly passive investors. These are the ones that they're investing their money into the deal. They're looking to get certain returns that are being promised by the GP team. And really, their only involvement is just getting the quarterly or monthly updates, depending on how that team structures the updates from the GP team. So they really have no control of when they sell, when they refinance. They don't even have control of, okay, we're going to paint the walls in here pink, in these properties. They have no say in that. But
Okay.
those are the main people involved, when we were talking the commercial size.
Thanks for explaining that. That's awesome. And then if somebody was getting started and they just wanted like either wholesale or buy and hold, what advice do you have for them?
Yeah, I think, aside from what we talked about of just being persistent, consistent, being around the right people, what I would say is we talk about this in Subto, right? The shiny object syndrome. I would
Yeah.
tell them if you don't have something set, it's okay to have shiny object syndrome when you're first going, right? Because I think there's a big clarity that I'll get to and what defines shiny object syndrome, where it's okay to learn about different things to figure out what you don't want to do and what you do want to do, right? Because if we
Yeah.
don't know what we don't know, how else are we supposed to figure out, I want to be a wholesaler, I want to be a fix and flipper? You have to educate and learn. I think what the shiny object syndrome presents a problem is when, okay, I'm going into wholesaling. That's my niche, right? I'm going to put my head down, stick with that. Oh, shoot, 2 months into it, I haven't got any leads. I've made X amount of calls, or I finally got a lead and now the buyer backed out. They pulled the contract. They went with another seller or buyer. Okay, I'm going to switch to co-living. because this is the shiny object someone's talking about now. This sounds cool. I go into co-living and it's like, oh geez, it's tough we have to get a property. We have to we have to fix and flip it essentially because we have to add walls. Now we have to find tenants. Oh geez, I'm going to go in the short-term rentals. So I think that's where you don't want to have shiny object. So I think that's really the fine line of understanding when it's okay to have the shiny object versus when it really is just a distraction. But when you decide to go all in, go all in. What I think drives me nuts when I see people sometimes in the group is when they say, oh, I've been wholesaling for 2 months now and I haven't gotten a deal yet. Well, how long have you been wholesaling? Oh, just 2 months. Okay. And it's like, do you realize how long it takes to get to where some people are and how successful they are? It doesn't always happen overnight. Like it goes back to, there's a great book I've read about when I was in baseball about talent in these top performing athletes. And, you hear that if you've heard of the 10,000 hour rule.
Yeah. Good to great.
Good to great, right? You have to be an expert. It takes 10,000 hours just to be considered an expert at something. So think about anything you've done in your life, whether it's your W-2, it's, a sport, an athletic event, whatever it may be. I mean, 10,000 hours, that's a ton of time. I mean, you do the math, that's over a year's worth of doing it 24/7. Imagine doing something 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 365 days a year just to become an expert. Like that's how much time it takes.
The Beatles, the examples in the book were like the Beatles and, different people, musicians and
athletes,
business people. Mm-hmm.
So same thing goes for this. Like, so you can't have that mindset of going in and 2 months in, oh, I haven't got my first wholesale deal. I haven't got my first sub-2 property. Well, how many hours have you spent total? And it's like 10 hours. Okay, you're not even close to being an expert here. Let's keep pushing through. You haven't even scratched the surface of learning this business. So how can you get frustrated with not being an expert when it's only been a few months?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have unrealistic expectations of timeframes. When I first started selling real estate 20 years ago, there was an old guy that was in the office and I was new. And I said, hey, do you have any old advice for a young person getting started in this business? And he said, yeah, don't quit before the magic happens. That was 100%. Great advice.
100%. Yeah.
Right?
I think, when you quit, you don't realize how close you are to just breaking through, and that's the case, I think, with a lot of things where if you take those small actions every single day, when we're in the moment, we don't realize how big those are becoming, pushing that big snowball and how that snowball effect up the hill. When we're in the moment, pushing it up the hill seems so strenuous, so arduous. We don't realize how big it's getting yet. But when we get to the top of the hill and we push it down the hill, it's just exponentially increasing at a rapid rate. And I feel like if you're doing those things, that can happen a lot in business where all of a sudden you've made thousands of phone calls, thousands of direct mail, no leads, but all of a sudden there's a breakthrough. Now you're getting like 10 people calling you a day. Now you're getting all these follow-ups. Now you're getting your first deal this month. Then next month it became 3. 12 months later, it's 20 deals a month. Like you don't realize how much that exponential change can happen when and how quickly it will happen.
Yeah. And I think that if you can't adjust your expectations, even I've been in real estate a long time. And so when I joined Subto, I thought I would be able to get my first deal really quickly because I sit across the table from sellers all the time, right? And negotiate contracts. And I would say I'm very astute at what I do, right? Like mostly at this point in my career and for a long time, I'm interviewing them to see if I even want to work with them. They think they're interviewing me, but really I just want to know how unrealistic or ridiculous they are, do I want to work with them?
Right, because you've had the experience, you've been through the ringer.
Yeah. It's like, I don't need your contract. Like, right? Like if you're unrealistic, I don't want to deal with you. My peace of mind is worth a lot more than your commission. And so 100%. It's so funny. Go ahead.
100%. It's time value, right? Like if they're going to waste your time and the money you're going to get out of it for your time and your business, is it worth it to find somebody else and interview someone else that will be half that time?
Right. And that's
for
really
this.
motivated, right? Just because you have a sign in front of your house doesn't mean your house is really for sale, right?
Exactly.
And so, and I, in the beginning, I didn't get that, right? But I just wanted to sell anything. But what's interesting is it took me almost a year in Subto. I did have a couple surgeries that year too. But what's interesting is it did take about a year to actually have the title, the deed to a property that we bought creatively, just because it's a whole different animal, right?
Yeah.
And to buy something without a bank and without a lender and all of that, it is a different animal. So there is a learning curve to everything.
100%. And I think too, no matter what you're doing, like you said, whether you are a fix and flipper, you're in commercial, you're in short-term rentals, whatever it is, no matter how long you're doing it, you're always going to be learning something new. I think when you start getting complacent, when you start thinking, I have it all figured out, that's the moment you know that you need to stop doing it because you're not growing at the same time. So I think no matter how long you've been doing it, you have to have the appetite to want to keep learning, to want to get better. Because I think if you look at every successful person, that's definitely a common factor is that they have a desire to continuously improve and learn.
Yeah, expand and grow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of Wallace Wattles. Have you heard of Wallace Wattles?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of his tenets of when you give the impression of growth and expansion, because everyone wants to increase in value and improve, right? It's innate in human nature, and so that if we're not giving off the fact, that we're providing value and adding value to people and helping them grow and expand, that we're going to be stuck. That's interesting concept.
Absolutely. And I think that goes back to, when you want to help others, when you put others first and really have a mission for that too, everything else will start figuring itself out, right? Everything starts coming to you and it's just, it's just how the universe works sometimes, it's great. Like you said, when you lead with value first, it will never steer you wrong.
Yeah, it keeps adding to you. I ask every person that's on the show the same question if I remember, because I'm human. But I ask everyone, what's a time in your life that you feel comfortable sharing with us that you were brave, that you took brave action?
Oh, geez. I mean, there's so many, but I think, if we're talking like entrepreneurial, being brave is just for me, like stepping out and trying to do, there's not specific, but just doing things that were uncomfortable for me. So believe it or not, like getting around a networking group like in Dallas at Squad Up or getting in a
Mhm.
room of like I was at a Chamber of Commerce meeting last night, meeting a bunch of other business owners, entrepreneurs. Years ago, that would have kind of intimidated me, to have to go around, walk around a room with people I don't know, introduce myself, talking about what they do, what I do. It would be mentally exhausting. But I knew in order to get where I wanted to go, it really goes down to your net worth is your network. So I knew I had to get better at networking. So I said to myself, listen, if you really want this that bad, if you want the wealth, you want to leave your W-2, you want all these things you're doing this for, why can't you get uncomfortable with just doing this and doing something that if you're putting too much pressure on yourself for anyway? Like, what's the big deal about going out and talking to someone? So
Yeah.
I think those are the times you really have to be brave. Like, and I think, more people than not are probably nervous or anxious to get up, go around a room of people, introduce yourself, ask them what they do, talk about what you do, how you can bring value. I think that's very intimidating for probably more people than not. And that's something that there's some people that it's natural for it to go around and kiss babies and talk to everyone in the room. Then there's people like me where you really have to force yourself to get better at it. So yeah, where I look at myself 10 years ago, where I am like, wow, I would feel very anxious. I wouldn't do that to the point where like now it's starting to become easier. It's starting to be more relaxed for me. And that's just sucking it up, being brave, keep pushing yourself because there's going to be a moment where you second guess, like, oh man, driving to this event last night, let me turn my car around. Or I worked all day. I'm just too tired to go, right? We start to find a reason not to do it. You
Hmm.
have to push yourself to do it. Like push yourself, for like 30 seconds to get over that roadblock, push through that wall, and trust me, it gets easier, it gets better.
Yeah, your mind will lie to you.
We are our own worst enemies. So
Mm-hmm.
there were times where like I would have turned the car around. I would have said, "Oh man, I'm too tired. I've worked all day to go to this event." But yeah, now with knowing what I want to do and why I'm doing it and all this, it makes it easy because like if I can't do this, then I don't deserve getting all this of what I want one day.
Yeah, you have to
Like you
be
said, if I
willing.
can't be brave if I can't be brave for just a short period of my life, then what am I doing?
Yeah, I always say to people, we have to let go of who we are so we can become who are meant to be, right? We have to let go of this version of ourselves.
100%. There's a reason why if you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be successful, you want to be in those rooms with the Pace Morbies of the worlds, the David Goggins, the Cody Sanchez's, you have to, it's a good thing. You have to leave your old persona, your old self behind. It's
Yeah,
part of the growth. It's part
yeah.
of the growth.
Sunday night, I was at the hospital with my concussion, and John asked me, "Do you want to cancel?" I had 3 interviews on Monday. Three. That's the system's only supposed to let 2 happen, I think. But anyway, somehow we had 3, and I had other stuff in between. I had an in-person thing that I had to go to, and with my underwriting group, and our local Anyway, so I made a decision, right? And I'm so glad I saw David Goggins. I knew what the 40% rule was, but I never heard it explained like that because I had something in my life where I had to make a decision. I thought I was at the end of my rope and I was not going to do something. And then I decided to do it, even though I felt like I was at the end of my rope. And I did something huge, even at the end of my rope, which it became successful. But so it was a good lesson to me because I had lied to myself, but I believed the lie, right? I didn't think there was anything left, no more juice left in me because I was maxed out, I thought. And so I made a decision. I'm not canceling because these people were incredible, like you're incredible. And I'm not sure they would reschedule, right? Because it's up to them to reschedule if I, cancel on them.
Right.
And so I sent Pace a message because I feel like he's such a good cheerleader. And I said, "Hey, pray for me. I have a concussion and my head is killing me. And I'm going to do all 3 of my interviews tomorrow because I'm all in and we're all capable of doing, 40% or 60% more, whatever it is." And those interviews all went phenomenally, not just a little bit, but and then one of the people loved their interview so much and they're huge in the community, made a whole reel about how people should follow me. I got like another 40 or 50 followers from them just posting, right? Which was so sweet, right? I didn't ask them to do that, right? But after their
Sure.
interview, they made this awesome reel. And literally, like logically, I could have canceled, right? And it would have made
Right.
sense, right? And I just think that we have these moments of decision, like you're talking about, like when you're in the car going to this networking event at the chamber, there's all these weird stories you could tell yourself about why you don't need to go. Those events used to really freak me out. John, my husband's older than me, and he's a successful developer when we got married. And so we would go to these events for they would build strip malls and then they'd have the grand opening in these tents outside in the parking lot. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'm young married and I'd have to go meet all these people and it's like way out of my league. I'm 20, he's 26, right? And so I'm young, right? Like I have no experience. And what's interesting is at first in the beginning, I'd be like freaked out. What am I going to talk to these people about? And I was talking to God about it. And he said, they're all insecure too. Why don't you just ask them questions? And whenever they talk about, ask them another question about that. And you don't have to worry about what you have to say because all you do is keep asking more questions and you'll never have to talk because they'll do all the talking. And so the next event I went to, I did that because I was just so self-conscious, right? Like, what am I going to say? And just by asking people questions, then that next one went so much better. And then after that, I just asked people questions. "Oh, tell me more about that. Oh, that's interesting. What made you get interested in that?" Or, "Oh, wow, that's amazing." And whatever they talked to me about, I would ask them another question about. So anyway, that's how I got over it because I was so insecure and freaked out, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's one of those things like probably after you did it, you look
Mm-hmm.
back and you're like, wow, that wasn't so bad. And wow, I'm glad I did that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because today I'm very comfortable, right? But there was a point that today I can talk to anyone. It's just part of me now because that was so, I'm
Hmm.
57. So that almost 30 years of doing it, right? But
Right.
I thought I was going to throw up and die when I would go to these things in the beginning, right? Because, I'm young
Sure.
and insecure and they're all older and successful. And I'm like, what am I doing here, right?
No, but it's probably something you look back and if you had to talk to 20-year-old Colleen at this point in that moment, you'd be like, why are you so worried? Don't worry.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I see it too. If like Adam 10 years ago, who would be nervous or a little probably internally anxious to do these, it's like it's not that big of a deal,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
all a story we tell ourselves. And John just said it's almost 40 years ago. So yeah, it's crazy. So almost double the time, right? And now I love talking to everyone, right? And so,
Yeah.
but back then I was very insecure, very nervous, very freaked out. And today I just love everyone. And I just now it's the same program. Ask questions, whatever they tell me and they share with me, then I ask them more about that, right? And just be
Hmm.
paying really close attention to what they're talking about. And that's the key for
Yeah,
me.
I think it's the no, I think it's true. Like, people love talking about themselves. So just keep asking questions. Like it doesn't need to be about you.
Mm-hmm.
Learn from them, listen to what they say, really listen, don't hear it because there might be something that sticks with you about them that, 6 months from now that you remember them. Like I think that's a
Mm-hmm.
great thing about the community is like if so in the commercial group I'm in, someone in Subto actually was talking about a multifamily in San Antonio. And immediately I thought of someone I knew that I stay close with in the group that they buy in San Antonio. So it's when you talk and ask those questions and listen to people, it's just those great things. And to me, like if you bring that property to them and they close, I'm not looking for anything financially out of it, but like that person that just you brought that got the deal that you brought to them, they're going to be forever eternally grateful for you. And you've just made like a lifelong friend, a lifelong colleague, just
Mm-hmm.
for remembering something.
Yeah, and we just don't know the dividends that will pay long term in the future because you just don't know, right? Just being kind to people and serving at a high level, being resourceful and serving though. Yeah, and just paying attention. Like I keep notes in my phone, right? Like I just keep, of stuff that was key for people and it makes a difference. Anyway, I just saw the time, so I don't want to keep you any
No,
longer,
all
but
good.
you are just wonderful guest and I really
Oh,
appreciate you
you're wonderful.
sharing.
Thank you. I loved our conversation. Thank you for having me on. It's been awesome. And yeah, I enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you another question. I'm going to have John stop this. I want to just ask you a question of why people should watch the show. So hold on. This is a new thing I just
Yeah.
thought of.
Okay.
Or do I need to quit it or not? I want to ask him to tell the audience why they should watch the show. Oh, you can just do it.
Just pause for a second.
Oh, pause. Okay, we'll pause for 1 second.
So I can
Okay.
know that the cut.
Oh,
Go ahead
okay.
and do it now.
Okay, so now we can do it.
Okay.
Okay,
So why
so
you should, well, yeah,
why
I
should
think
people
that's
watch the
easy.
show?
Well, one, I mean, you're so easy to talk to. Like, even when I met you in Dallas, your personality, like, it's just your energy is contagious. So, I mean, I think for me, it starts with you, right? Being around great people. But number two, just the conversation of being entrepreneurs, of being in real estate, of just having that ability to just talk about this. And, it doesn't feel like an interview. It's like you talk to someone you've known for, the last 20 years of your life. So I think anyone that one wants to not just learn about real estate, but also learn about just being around the right people, I think, just that's a big reason for listening to you is just you're they're listening to the right people about this and where to get the advice from.
Yeah, I think that's a good reason to watch, right? Because I really do.
Absolutely.
You become like the five people you hang out with. And so you can just watch these interviews and hang out with us, and we can be your five people.
Absolutely. Well, and it all comes down to, who you're working with, who like goes back to capital raising, who I'm raising capital for. It's about not just the deal, but the team, and for you, you're the image of this podcast. If you had a bad reputation, I found out you weren't acting with integrity, why would I want to put my name to that? Why would I want to put everything I know out on that line for someone who's then pitching the same stuff to somebody else and not acting in good faith. So I think it comes down to character and, why you watch someone or follow someone in the first place, because they have knowledge and they've built trust. You've built trust with them. So I think that's huge.
Thanks so much for being on and
Of
encouraging people
course.
to
Thank you,
watch.
Colleen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
thank you so
good.
much. I'm excited. So, yeah, thank you again. If there's anything I can do, and the great thing is, I know we'll be staying in touch. So anything I can ever do for you.
Yeah, I appreciate you.